Good evening, hello and welcome to the news today, your primetime destination, news, newsmakers, talking points. And it's Tuesday night, this is where you'll get all the news without the noise. And we've got plenty on the show tonight. Caste, corruption and cops. Why is a case in Haryana now becoming a major national controversy? Haryana police suicides are stunning the nation. Is there caste bias? What is the truth behind these suicides? We'll tell you the full story tonight. You don't want to miss that. Also, our exclusive newsmaker tonight, Javed Akhtar, tells us why he's angry. Javed Akhtar ko gussa kyun aata hai? He will speak out on the Taliban like no one else has in the country. But the story that's breaking this evening, 2 policemen suicides now inside a week in Haryana have once again stirred a major national controversy. That's right, a second policeman has now committed suicide. An assistant sub-inspector has killed himself and called the ADGP who committed suicide a week ago a corrupt officer who was protecting his corruption by playing the Dalit caste card. The families of both the police have refused a post-mortem and a cremation. The police have moved court seeking permission for autopsy. This coming on a day when several leaders, including Rahul, Gandhi, visited the house of the officer who had died by suicide to express their sympathy. So caste, cops and allegations of corruption. Our correspondent Kamaljeet Sandhu is joining me for the very latest now from Haryana. Kamaljeet, give us a sense of just what has happened. A second policeman has died by suicide. What is this all about? Okay, we'll try and go back to Kamaljeet in a moment, our correspondent there in Chandigarh. Remember, this is a case which, as I said, has now acquired a major national dimension because you've got 2 policemen, one a senior officer, a Dalit, who had alleged discrimination as a reason for committing suicide, and now a second official, an ASI, who claims that he was committing suicide because he was investigating the case and that the original officer who committed suicide was guilty of corruption. As I said, therefore, this is a case now that is tangled in caste, corruption, and yes, politics. The Indian police service has not seen possibly a case like this. 2 officers have committed suicide inside a week in Haryana. And in both cases, the entire issue is surrounded in mystery. Okay, remember, this case has now become a major political flashpoint. Today, leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, visited Chandigarh. Also, the Lok Janshakti Party leader was Chirag Paswan was there. Both of them were there to condole with the family of the Dalit police officer Puran Kumar, who died by suicide last week. Why is this case becoming so big? Take a look at our top story.
Two suicides in a week jolt Haryana police. Days after Dalit IPS officer Y. Puran Kumar took his life alleging caste discrimination in service, an assistant sub-inspector from Cyber Cell allegedly died by suicide on Tuesday. Rohtak ASI Sandeep, who allegedly shot himself, left a note and video message claiming ADGP Puran Kumar was scared of getting arrested in a corruption case.
बिल्कुल सच्चाई सामने आनी चाहिए. इन्हें गलत कर रखा है, गलत का फल इनको मिलेगा.
The ASI was part of the investigation team that arrested ADGP Puran Kumar's PSO in an extortion case.
हमारा एक बहुत महकमे का मेहनती ASI था संदीप, बहुत ईमानदार और बहुत मेहनती मुलाजिम था. अभी एक सूचना मिली थी कि उसकी डेड बॉडी मिली है. अभी फॉरेंसिक की टीम बुला रखी है और जांच चल रही है.
परसों यहाँ पर आया हुआ था, तो ये वैसे तो कुछ लग नहीं रहा था, मैं ठीक ठाक बोल रहा था जी. उसने एक बात तो कह रहा था कि भाई हमको टॉर्चर किया जा रहा है इसके बारे में. भाई इसने इसका गनमैन कोई रिश्वत लेने पकड़ा था, ये साथ में था पकड़ने में. इसी ने पकड़ा था इसका गनमैन को जी, आईजी पूरन कुमार को। ऐसे और संदीप कुमार शहीद ना हो देश पे, इन भ्रष्ट अफसरों का इलाज करना चाहिए जनता ने, जैसे नेपाल में किया जी।
उसका सुसाइड करने का कोई जस्टिफिकेशन नहीं है, कोई औचित्य नहीं है, और अननेसेसरी इस जो मूवमेंट है इसको डाइवर्सिफाइड करने के लिए, इसको डिवाइड करने के लिए जाट का मुद्दा बीच में उसने ले लिया है।
Incidentally, ADGP Puran Kumar was found dead with gunshot wounds at his residence on October 7. His suicide note detailed the alleged harassment and caste-based discrimination he faced in service over the years. He had alleged that DGP Shatrujit Kapoor was using Rohtak SP Narendra Bijarnia to implicate him in fabricated cases. The Dalit IPS officer's death has become a political flashpoint. Leader of the opposition Rahul Gandhi visited Puran Kumar's wife, IAS officer Amneet Kumar.
देश में करोड़ों दलित भाई बहन हैं, उनको गलत मैसेज जा रहा है कि आप कितने भी सक्सेसफुल हो, कितने भी इंटेलिजेंट हो, कितने भी कैपेबल हो, अगर आप दलित हो आपको दबाया जा सकता है, और ये हमारे लिए एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है।
BJP LI and NDA's Dalit face in Bihar, Chirag Paswan, too visited Puran Kumar's family.
इस परिवार को न्याय मिलेगा, ये मैं विश्वास दिलाता हूं। प्रधानमंत्री जी की तरफ से, गृह मंत्री जी की तरफ से, ये जितने भी दोषी हैं, भले वो कितने भी बड़े पद पर क्यों ना बैठे हों, उनके ऊपर सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई होगी।
Puran Kumar's family has refused post-mortem and cremation of body till their demand for the arrest of DGP Shatrujit Kapoor and SP Narendra Bijarnia is met. The Nayab Singh Saini government has sent the DGP on leave and removed SP Bijarnia from his post. OP Singh has taken charge as the acting DGP. With Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu, Bureau Report, India Today.
2 policemen death by suicide inside a week. Joining me now is Kamaljeet Sandhu. She's our head of bureau in Chandigarh. Kamaljeet, just as the dust was settling down, or not even fully settling down, on one suicide involving an IPS officer, now an ASI commits suicide. What's going on? Is this now caste and corruption getting tangled in? Give us a sense of how the investigators are reading a second suicide.
Well, the skeletons are definitely out of the cupboard, and that is why what we see is one suicide after the other. The curious case of Rohtak suicide in particular talks about how there has been pressure to change the narrative, or at least balance the narrative of sorts, because remember, there were at least a dozen IS and IPS officers in the dock, especially DGP Shatrujit Kapoor, who have now been proceeded on leave. Thereafter, we have OP Singh in place, but also the SP Rohtak. Now, what is going on is there is a talk about how on the 6th there was a FIR against the gunman Sushil Kumar, and this is where this particular ASI was also part of the larger team. He was not the IO, but he was part of the investigating team. So something which could have related to the cyber cell itself. He was being at least Chandigarh police had it in mind to question the team which was really involved, and whether there was any larger conspiracy related to that. But just before that, what we see is a suicide taking place. So obviously question mark being raised, and here is a family which is saying that there is a pressure coming in from corrupt officers. This also talk about that they are not willing to actually either have post-mortem or cremation done, something which why Puran Kumar family is also reiterating. So now there is a complicated situation, one in Chandigarh and one in Rohtak,
Right.
and each talking about the case itself. But remember, this also means that things have been going way too wrong. And this is where it's not just a power tussle, it's also about how the conspiracies, discrimination, all coming to light at once. And this is where many say it's not
Right.
about Chandigarh police, or for that matter, Haryana police to investigate. A larger investigation, perhaps by a central agency, could be the answer to this.
Okay, really, this is now turning out to be one of the most complicated stories one has heard of. as I repeat, you have one officer commit suicide, claims that this is because he was being harassed by senior officers. And now you have an ASI investigating allegations against corruption against the officer who committed suicide, saying he wanted the truth to come out and was therefore committing suicide because corruption needed to be exposed. Lots of questions to be raised. Is caste discrimination in services a reality, as was alleged by the first officer who committed suicide? Is this about corruption, and therefore corruption being hidden under the guise of caste bias? What is really the truth behind these police suicides? I'm joined by Rajesh Jogpal. He's a former IAS officer from Haryana, comes from the Dalit community. Milind Awad is a caste studies and Dalit rights expert at JNU. Shashikant, former DGP Punjab, and Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS officer. Appreciate all of you joining us. I want to come to you, Yashovardhan Azad, first. What do you make out of this case? Two policemen committing suicide in a space of a week. Does it suggest that there is some foul play, conspiracy theories, particularly a second ASI committing suicide while he was allegedly investigating corruption?
Well, two things are clear. One, that corruption is absolutely rampant. And there are so many things which involve corruption. And secondly, what has happened is not really a great conspiracy, but straight facts. Number one, it's true that businesses in Haryana and in Punjab, for that matter, are threatened very, very seriously by the local goons, by even Lawrence Bishnoi gang. And that was the reason why one of the liquor merchants had gone to the IG seeking protection. Now, the IG's the IG's gunman was booked in a case for extortion when he asked for a monthly remuneration in the name of the IG. Now, this is a fact that 6th, the FIR was registered, and 7th, unfortunately, the suicide took place, and 8th, the complaint was lodged. Now, the second thing is that it's extremely unfortunate that this has happened to a Dalit officer, but also it may be said that in his complaint, he has, arraigned not only these two, but there are 13 people, 9 of them are serving officers, and 4 of them are retired IAS and IPS officers. So in the case of the IPS officer, I think there should have been an inquiry, because the main thing which has been alleged for registering a case against the DGP and the SP is that the officer who died was harassed mentally, and the case registered is false. Now, in that case, obviously, either the matter should go to the court or there should be a high-level inquiry conducted. And I don't think there was any need to remove them. That's number one. And number two, in the other case of the ASI is extremely serious, because he has alleged a lot of corruption. And that is one thing which is rampant and which needs to be looked into separately.
So we are looking at two angles. One is corruption, one is allegations of harassment on the basis of caste. Shashikant, taking up from what Yashovardhan Azad said, are police officers in states like Haryana engaged in extortion? Just as gangsters may be extorting from businessmen, are policemen also engaged in alleged extortion in return for protection that the police will provide against the gangs? And was this case somewhere tied into that? Is it a simple case of caste discrimination, or is there a corruption angle that needs to be fully investigated?
Well, I partly agree with Yasho. It needs to be investigated. Let me tell you very clearly, talking of corruption, involvement of officers, it doesn't pertain only to Punjab or Haryana. That's the true story all over. Officers, they indulge in all sorts of corruption, and so does the lower persons who are attached with them. In this case, the guy who has committed suicide, young, ASI, etc. Normally, the procedure is that they are the persons who do it. And once again, talking of Haryana, it is not only casteism there. In most of the states, including Haryana, Punjab, and elsewhere, it is also the state you belong to. Caste is one thing, and state you belong to. Outsiders are not treated well in most of the states. They say in the IAS, IPS, all these services always we call it insider versus outsider. So this is the situation. And once again, I think the Haryana government has showed that is heading towards total incompetency. In the very first instance, they should have ordered a high-level inquiry by a central agency, because this was 100% this issue was to cover. And if you take action against all the persons, 16, 17, and whosoever is involved, action has to be taken. What does it mean? What will be the repercussion in the judiciary, in the bureaucracy, whether it's police or IAS or whatever it is? The Haryana government needs to ensure that straightforward and in-depth investigation, preferably by a central agency, so that there is no allegation. And once again, yes, caste, insider, outsider, all these things hurt. And I'm sure, I think Yasho was from Bihar cadre. He's all right. I'm an outsider. I suffered this thing, but the person suffered. Thank you.
You're saying there is an insider-outsider divide. So we have a caste divide, we have an insider-outsider divide, and we are also talking of possible corruption and policemen engaged in possible extortion or protection money being given through businessmen. Rajesh Jogpal, you're a former IAS officer, and I'm told that you yourself have claimed that you've suffered from discrimination because you come from the Dalit community. Do you want to explain what exactly do you see this case to be? Is it a simple case of an officer committing suicide, senior officer alleging harassment and discrimination by his seniors who he accuses IAS and IPS officers of torturing him? Or was that a cover for possible corruption that he was engaged in? What's your sense?
Thank you. Rajdeep, first of all, I want to pay my regards, homage to both the police officers who died, who committed suicide. First of all, let me just put it that the very fact that an FI is registered and the judicial process takes time, both these officers did not have enough faith. And because the society has perceived it as stigmatic, caste is the second factor. He has been, fighting the discrimination for 4, 5, 6 years. But somehow both these officers lost faith in the process, and the police registration FIR, it seems to be stigmatic. As Mr. Shashikant said, it happens in the government that your outsider, insider, and caste discrimination do takes place. But these discrimination also offers us a challenge, to do well. So I have not personally faced very serious discrimination.
No, but is the lack of faith, if I may ask you, is the lack of faith in the system such? Is the lack of faith in the system such that people would go to the extent of committing suicide? One is a senior IPS officer, one is an ASI. But the fact is, are we saying that the pressures on them are such that they would commit suicide?
Yeah, it seems so, Otherwise, why would one commit suicide? The very fact that it was stigmatic, they thought that they would be going to jail and the court process will take a lot of time. There have been many instances in Haryana where previous IAS officers were tried and they got, they were acquitted with honor. And in the process, they face jails, they process FIRs. So the very fact that it is stigmatic, and officers from Dalits, they are sensitive. So sometimes, certain things, like postings are discretion, promotions are a right. Sometimes they feel that. So we need to address.
Okay, let me bring in Milind Awad. Let me bring in Milind Awad at this point. Milind Awad, already the case has become hugely political. Rahul Gandhi goes to the house of the Dalit IPS officer who committed death by suicide, and he says no officer can be who is from the Dalit community is safe. Now we have an angle where possibly this officer was involved in corruption or extortion and therefore was trying to protect himself. Do we need to be very careful and sensitive in such cases before jumping the gun?
I think FIR is in public domain, and this is purely a case of caste atrocity. This is actually case of moral corruption of caste society. So I just want to extend my point that suicide of this IS officer it reminds me Rohit Vemula's suicide, where he says that my birth is fatal accident. So suicide of Rohit Vemula, suicide of IIT students, denial of promotions in universities, denial of usual promotions in liberal government institutions shows that the massacre is a massacre and brutal atrocities are going on, but bloodless massacre is also going on there. So this humiliation, this is caste humiliation, and this caste humiliation shows that these are moral injuries which are done by the caste elites and those who possess caste.
But Milind, you're saying this is just a minute. You're saying this is caste atrocities, but in a video message that Sandeep Lathar, the ASI who committed suicide, alleges that Puran Kumar was a corrupt cop who ended his life as he feared his alleged corruption would be exposed. So are we not to look at the corruption angle at all? You are convinced this is a caste atrocity?
I'm convinced this is caste atrocity. It's something to do with caste humiliation. It's something to do with the caste stigma, which is imposed on, even if he became IS officer, that stigma does not go away from him. So this procedural inquiry will take, will probably able to say that what was the reason, but his FIR, his allegation, his denial of promotion, treatment to him in the usual service condition shows that his humiliation was not private, but rather it became public event. So I'm saying it is just not about this case, but overall, if you take the example of various cases of Dalit suicide, whether IIT students or Rohit Vemula or this officer, or there are various examples, shows that the continuation of Dalit atrocities is seen in actual social reality.
You're saying that there is, in a sense, you're saying there is institutionalized caste injustice being done, caste discrimination. You don't agree with that, Yashovardhan Azad? You're shaking your head. You don't accept that in a service like the IPS, a Dalit officer who rises up is not, are you claiming is not discriminated against?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think once you have got into the services like the IAS and IPS, no caste, no religion matters. It's a question of complete merit. And let me put some more facts on ground, Rajdeep. In the case of unfortunate death of Mr. Puran Kumar, it is clear that the case which was there was ironclad because his gunman was captured. He was tape recorded regarding the extortion. Now that's one very important thing. The other thing which I want to tell you is that over the years, even when Mr. Puran Kumar had registered a case of complaint against his own commissioner, Singhal, or other people, inquiries were interested. Inquiries were interested to Mr. Sandhu, who himself was a scheduled caste officer, and inquiries were all done. The other thing which I want to tell you is some of the names there are, people like Manoj Yadav or Shatrujit, who have an absolute flawless and fantastic record. I mean, you can't imagine that somebody would do anything to an IPS officer on ground of caste. We never thought in uniform that caste or religion would be of any consideration, especially from those people whose records are absolutely spotless.
No, is that an idealistic? No, you're saying the records are absolutely spotless in a way, therefore you're calling for a central agency to investigate.
Yes.
I want you to respond, Milind, to what you're hearing, because as a professor, as an activist, we are seeing the moment a Dalit IPS officer in this case has committed death by suicide, his suicide note claiming harassment. Here you've got a different story being put by Yashovardhan Azad. He says the evidence shows that the gunman of this IPS officer, there is a tape recording of him involving extortion. So there is a corruption angle. Can we only look at it from the lens of caste? Do we also, particularly now that a second officer has committed suicide claiming that the first officer was corrupt, Do we not need a proper investigation before instantly claiming this is caste atrocity?
Okay, so basically, this investigation and procedural inquiry is one part. But as I said, that Puran Kumar's statement and his humiliation is reflected in his FIR. So basically, we have had cases that president was also denied to enter in temple, right? Or recent incident of Supreme Court judge was also, had to face the humiliation. So actually, the humiliation which we see in public domain, it's something to do with the stigma which is in continuation. Now this stigma is visible in irrationals through various kinds of caste atrocities. Now this is also case of caste stigma. So someone, even if he or she become IS, IPS, or become part of elite services, the stigma does not go away. And that particular officer is alienated, is forced to feel the humiliation which this particular officer was going through.
No,
So I
you're
think,
saying he's forced. Milind, okay, Milind.
yes.
Milind, I take your point, but I want to ask Rajesh Jogal. Rajesh Jogal, Jogpal, you've been a former IAS officer. I want an honest answer. The fact is, if there is corruption, then it doesn't matter whether you're a Dalit, a Brahmin, or any caste in this country. Do you agree? Or are you telling me that there is there is no corruption angle that should be investigated in this case at all now?
No, that exactly is the point of investigation. That's why, I want a fair inquiry must be held. But there are two things, one is corruption angle, other is discrimination angle, no? Generally, discriminations do not happen at this level, but there is a consistent, record in this case. So that needs to be investigated. What I am saying is there needs to be a fair inquiry.
Shashikant, is a fair inquiry possible? Is a fair inquiry possible given the stakes involved, given that we are hearing reports of IPS officers, no less, being accused of extortion or taking protection money? Do you believe a fair inquiry is at all possible in this polarized, surcharged political climate?
2 points. Number one, as far as the institutionalized casteism is concerned, I don't think that exists. But yes, such incidents do come to notice. I have seen in my career spanning almost 4 decades that such things do come up off and on. It's very much there, but you can't say that's institutionalized, number one. And secondly, yes, as far as the corruption thing is concerned, there needs to be inquiry. I won't trust the Haryana police, and I think Haryana police should not take up this case because there are lots of aspersions and allegations are being labeled against them also. So why not give it to the central agency? Now I'm sure that the central agency, under a competent officer, will certainly ensure that it's all absolutely clear. Thank you.
I think that is very clear. I think we are in agreement on that. I'll give you 30 seconds, Yashovardhan, since you raised your hand. A quick comment. Is the only now answer a central agency without polarized politics entering? This cannot become a case simply of caste discrimination, but needs to be a case to investigate whether there is high-level corruption in the Haryana police and, dare I say, in the IPS.
Well, let me say, Rajdeep, that the last issue you raised is a very, very critical issue. And that's why I don't think that even a central agency would do justice to this. And if you really want justice in this particular case, then it should be given to a retired IPS officer or an IS officer or anybody so that he's absolutely neutral. Because it is time to separate whether it's politics, whether it's caste, or whether it's corruption. And I tell you, all these are so inextricably linked. And what we have seen in the incidents are they show the collusion of all these three. And therefore, it has to be with clarity that the inquiry goes to a man who's absolutely clean and neutral.
Okay. On that note, I appreciate my guests joining me. As I said, caste, corruption and cops. Haryana has brought out some of India's senior side out, and which is why we made it our top focus today. We expect at the very least a truly non-partisan inquiry to take place. That is the only way justice can be done in this case. Let me turn from there to another controversy that's erupted this time in Karnataka, where Karnataka's Minister Puran Kumar has now alleged that he is receiving threatening calls. His family is being abused since he wrote to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah seeking to a ban on RSS activities in government schools, colleges and public spaces. What exactly is the story? Take a look.
A political controversy has unfolded in Karnataka, centered on State Minister Puran Kumar's call for a ban on RSS activities in government institutions.
RSSನವರು ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಜಾಗಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ಕೊತಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ನೀವು ತಮಿಳುನಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಚೀಫ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿಗೆ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ತಮಿಳುನಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
Following his letter to the Chief Minister, Puran Kumar now alleges he is receiving threats. He took a jibe at the BJP and the RSS, asking why children of BJP leaders are not joining RSS shakas.
What I should eat, what I should wear, my parents will teach me at home. In schools, they're supposed to learn. They come there for education so that they can get out of poverty. If this ideology is so good, why BJP's children are not in RSS shakas? Why are they not becoming Gaurakshaks? Why are they not becoming Dharmrakshaks? Why are they not drinking Gomutra? Why are they not in shakas?
Earlier, Kharge alleged that RSS shakas brainwash children, spreading hate and violating constitutional values, all without police permission.
It's quite natural that they have to defend the RSS because BJP by itself does not have any strength. We are very clear that if RSS is a registered organization or the world's largest NGO, as the Honorable Prime Minister says, why is it not registered?
The BJP has condemned Puran Kumar's remarks.
प्रियंका खड़गे जी को मैं एक सुझाव देना चाहता हूं. आप एक बार संघ के शाखा में आ जाइए. सुबह 1 घंटे जो शाखा चलता है हमारा, उस शाखा में आ जाइए और देखिए शाखा में क्या सीखता है, क्या पढ़ाते हैं और कैसा करते हैं. इसके बयान कराने का या सरकारी और अरे सरकारी जो भी ऐसा आप जो लेटर लिखा है सीएम को, उसको तुरंत विड्रॉल कर देना चाहिए.
Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis called the Congress leader's comments on RSS a publicity stunt.
उनको केवल प्रसिद्धि चाहिए, पब्लिसिटी के लिए सब करते हैं. उनको कौन पूछता है? अरे इंदिरा जी ने प्रयास कर लिया, इंदिरा जी को सत्ता से हटना पड़ा. या ऐसे लोगों को हम जवाब भी नहीं देते, इनको कोई पूछता भी नहीं.
BJP workers took out protests against Kharge. In Mandya, BJP workers protested holding banners that read, "I love RSS." In Kalaburgi, they pasted posters that read, "Whoever loves India loves RSS." Despite alleged threats against him and his family, Kharge vowed to continue his efforts, stating his work is based on the principles of Buddha, Basava and Baba Saheb Ambedkar.
Days after Minister Puran Kumar's letter to Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah to ban RSS activity at government premises, now he claims that he and his family members are getting threatening and abusive calls. And he says that it is no surprise that he is getting these kind of calls from an organization like RSS. Whereas the BJP claim that he is trying to do political stunt and public stunt to ensure that he becomes the next Chief Minister of Karnataka. With your journalist Madhu Sagaras reporting for India Today, Bengaluru.
Okay, let's turn from there to another big story we've been tracking. The recent visit of the Afghan foreign minister and Taliban leader Amir Khan Muttaqi to India continues to stir a controversy. Remember, there have been a lot of anger over why India welcomed the Taliban leader. And of course, the press conference, which originally was kept exclusively for men, and the women journalists were kept away. Now, Javed Akhtar, poet lyricist, has joined the controversy by claiming in a tweet that it was a national shame, he thought, that India had given such a warm reception to a Taliban leader, a group which he said thrived on fanaticism and gender discrimination. Listen in now to Javed Akhtar Unplugged. And joining me now is a very special guest, joined by the one and only poet, lyricist Javed Akhtar. Appreciate your joining us. Javed Akhtar ko gussa kyun aata hai? Is how I'm putting this, Javed bhai, to you, because you've said on Twitter only yesterday, in the context of the Taliban, I hang my head in shame when I see the kind of respect and reception given to the representatives of the world's worst terrorist group, Taliban, by those who beat the pulpit against all kinds of terrorists. Now, the government of India may well say, Javed Akhtar, that the Taliban today is fighting Pakistan and your enemy's enemy becomes your friend. So, how would you respond if someone told you that?
No, this is not a foolproof law that enemy is a friend. What we dislike, and for so many years India had some kind of a boycott towards South Africa because there was apartheid, and they were treating their own citizens who were not white like almost subhumans. We protested. And we did not make any ambassadorial relations with them. We did not play cricket with them. We did not do anything with them. It was a complete boycott for years because of this reason. Now, here is a country where half of the population, which happen to be women, are treated like animals who have no right. All the schools and colleges of that country for women are closed down. Even the history books where women are important, or the books about women, have been removed from the university's library. Why are we entertaining them? For any reason. We have a dispute with Pakistan because of their Pakistan's regressive, communal, and violent, sometimes very violent, response to our country. So we don't like him. And we say that not that we don't like every citizen of the country, but we have certain grievances and totally justified grievances against the system, against the army and against the governments of respective governments of Pakistan who are pushing, organizing, helping these kind of elements. All right, fine. So we are against them. But there is another country. We don't share borders with them. But what kind of policies this country has towards their own citizens? Does it not make any difference to us? Then why we had boycotted South Africa?
But
on what grounds?
But Javed Akhtar, there will be those who will say you're raising certain moral questions about the treatment of women by the Taliban.
It means, all right, so it means we were wrong.
As I said at the outset, diplomacy, the government will say has no place for such universal moral values.
It means, in other words, say it simply, that we were wrong by boycotting and keeping away from South Africa, white South Africa. Is that you are saying? Say it.
No, I am saying, as I said, that because of the geostrategic compulsions, today the Taliban is at war in a way with Pakistan, and therefore we want to encircle Pakistan is the argument given. Therefore, we are striking a relationship. We haven't given them full diplomatic status here with Taliban.
If Afghanistan would have been under the regime of Hitler, and Afghanistan and Pakistan would not have been friends, we would have been friendly with Hitler. Say it. Yes, we would be. I want to hear it.
No. Well, this is for our government. This is for our government to answer.
No, where do you stand? Because
but what is your principle? Do you believe that the Taliban? Yeah. No, so do you believe that Taliban itself is a medieval mindset that has no place in modern society? That's essentially where you're coming from? Am I right?
I am saying that they are treating half the population of their country as animals. Is it acceptable to us to have relations with a country of that sort? Then either we were wrong in boycotting South Africa, or we are wrong in having this kind of relationship with Pakistan. for any expediency, for any reason. There could be hundreds of reasons to have good relationship with white South Africa, but we did not care for that on a principle.
So you're saying principles have been abandoned here by the way the government has been seen to be virtually going out of its way to reach out to the Taliban at a time when the rest of the world, large parts of the world are continuing to boycott the Taliban. Why should India be the country forsaking moral principles? Correct?
Yes. Principles seem to be a kind of a word which is more intellectual or political than real. Human today in real world, the fact is it's a matter of serious morality. It's a matter of projecting ourselves what we are willing to accept for our political advantage. What reason can be? Till yesterday, Afghanistan was under somebody else or under some other regime, and sometimes it was not as important to us as it is today. But Pakistan is a permanent nuisance. So we were handling that. Why do we need these Muslim Nazis to solve our problem with Pakistan? We don't need them. We are powerful enough. We can take care of ourselves vis-a-vis Pakistan. Do we need Taliban? And to an extent that we are willing to allow a press conference in India, in a secular country where every woman has the right to vote, every woman has the right to become the prime minister or a chief minister or ambassador or minister or whatever. That will be strictly, that was strictly for men. So there is one little, for at least for a while, there was one little Talibani black spot on the white collar of India.
You used a very strong word just now, Muslim Nazis, because you say also in your tweet, shame on Deoband too for giving such a reverent welcome to their Islamic hero, who is one of those who have completely banned girls' education, my Indian brothers and sisters. You're referring essentially to the kind of welcome the external affair, the Afghan minister Muttaqi got. Tell me, define this word Muslim Nazis and why you're angry with Deoband as well.
No, I'm not angry. As a matter of fact, the fact is that they have shown their real faith. Given a half a chance, they will do the same. Given a chance, they don't have that power. They don't have that position. But they are receiving this Taliban ambassador tells us, and with such warmth, tells us that this is what they appreciate. This is what they agree with. If some Shia Muslim scholar or Shia Muslim ambassador would have come to India, the doors of Deoband would not have been open for him. So Shia is not good enough, but this man and this regime that has closed the schools and colleges of women who want to keep them illiterate and prisoners in their own homes are perfectly all right for Deoband, and they hug them. They meet them with great reverence and respect and admiration and almost envy. So they have shown their real faith by receiving this man.
You know, I find it also interesting in a way what you're saying is that the Taliban represents a kind of fanatical Islam that has no place in modern society, that gives Islam a bad name across the world. I've heard our politician Yogi Adityanath has at times targeted Muslims, saying you have a Talibani mindset, and we've seen those who say there is a good Taliban and a bad Taliban. You're very clear there is only a Taliban, and that Taliban practices a fanatical form of Islam that you believe has no place in modern civilized society, and groups like the Deoband have shown their true face by welcoming Muttaqi in the way they have. Am I correct?
Yeah, very right. And look at the, two-faced situation that on one hand, if a man stands on the road with a poster or a placard, I love Muhammad, he's put in the jail. But this is a fanatic attitude. I am an atheist. It doesn't make, that way personally, it doesn't make any difference to me. But I see the contradiction. And then you are inviting and making this man official, state guest who have this kind of mindset and who preaches this kind of Islam. And Deoband, which is one of the most respected Islamic institution of India, meets him with open arms and with such glee. What does it tell you about so many people? People who think every Muslim is a Talibani, everyone is a Talibani and a jihadi. Then you meet that Talibani and jihadi with such great respect and admiration. Only because he is the enemy of Pakistan. So tomorrow if Hitler would have been the enemy of Pakistan for any reason, you would have hugged him. And look at these Deoband people.
Do you make a distinction between
you see, I must tell one thing to Deoband ulamas and scholars. Those who openly oppose this religion called Islam cannot damage Islam to this extent that a Talibani can, who ostensibly speaks for Islam and then shows this kind of faith of Islam. You should be aware of this man, wary of this man, and you should say what they are doing is not Islam. But by receiving them, you have accepted that perhaps that is Islam. You have condoned
Do you believe there is a distinction between the good Taliban and the bad Taliban? Do you believe there's a distinction between the so-called good Taliban and bad Taliban?
There is no distinction between good cancer and bad cancer. Is there anything like good cancer? At least I am not aware of it. Good Taliban.
And would you therefore say that what the Taliban has done over the years...
Yeah.
And you're very clear that the Taliban does not represent Islam or represent the wider population of Muslims. Am I clear? Across the world, that they only represent themselves.
No. That is not my expertise. I will not poke my nose in that. You see, it is for the people like Deoband to decide what is real Islam, not me. I am an ignorant person. I am illiterate in these matters. So if they receive him, what choice they have left for me? But to believe that perhaps, yes, they are admiring this man, they are meeting with such warmth, while they will not invite a Shia. So it means this must be their Islam. Who am I to decide that? It is for Deoband to decide, not for me.
But does it also show the double standards of those in government? Many of those in government, when they were in opposition, would attack the then government for if they had reached out to the Taliban. Now you're in power, and those who accused Indian Muslims at times of having a Talibani mindset are now embracing the Taliban. So there seem to be double standards there also, Mr. Akhtar.
Totally. I mean, no doubt about it. Totally. And it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. Even if you are wrong, you better be wrong perfectly. I mean, it's so imperfect that you are calling an Indian Muslim who says, I love Muhammad, he's a Talibani. And when the real Talibani comes, you hug him. So, what do I think of you?
Okay. Point taken. Very, very strong words, Javed Akhtar. I hope that someone out there is listening to you.
I'll say clear words. It is not strong. They are not strong. They are clear.
Okay. Saaf hai, bilkul Javed Saab, and I appreciate you joining us. There are very few who would come out like you and speak out as firmly and clearly, and I appreciate you doing so. Thank you so much for joining me here on the news today.
Thank you.
Muslim Nazis is how Javed Akhtar described the Taliban. And tonight we bring you a good news story from West Bengal involving, guess who? The big B. That's right. Jayanta Dulai, a Kaun Banega Karodpati contestant, had complained on the show that he didn't have a proper bathroom at home. The mega star then stepped in, and Amitabh Bachchan, guess what? Has kept his promise. A brand new bathroom now stands in Jayanta's home that reads, gifted by the one and only Amitabh Bachchan. It's our Good News Today story. Take a look.
Last year, Jayanta Dule from Aghai, a village in Hooghly, appeared on the reality show of Kaun Banega Karodpati. He shared with Amitabh Bachchan the hardships faced by his family, especially the lack of proper bathroom at his home. A few days later, Bachchan reached out to Jayanta, promising to fund a bathroom for his family. The Shahanshah of Bollywood has fulfilled that promise. The new bathroom and toilet at Jayanta's home has a plaque outside that proudly says, "Gifted by Amitabh Bachchan."
मैं तो बहुत खुश हूँ सर को बोलना चाहूँगा वो सर जो मेरे फैमिली के लिए जो सोच रहा था उसने जो भैया कंप्लीट कर दिया इसलिए बहुत बहुत थैंक यू.
He says Bachchan paid him 2 lakh rupees in October last year for the construction of the bathroom. The work was delayed for several months due to heavy rains.
ये तो बहुत ही अच्छा लग रहा है मुझको. और कुछ दिन पहले ही बिग अमिताभ बच्चन सर का जन्मदिन गया है, लेकिन मेरा जो 13 अक्टूबर है मेरा भी जन्मदिन है, इसलिए मैं ये जो गिफ्ट मिला है मुझको मेरे जन्मदिन के सबसे बड़ा तोहफा जो मिला है वो अमिताभ बच्चन सर की बदौलत मुझको मिला है. इसलिए मैं अपने लाइफ का बेस्ट बर्थडे गिफ्ट मानता हूँ इसे.
Jayanta, who appeared in KBC season 16, won 15,70,000 rupees. He is using the prize money to fund his and his sister's education. He is now pursuing a master's degree at Jadavpur University. Jayanta also bought a motorcycle. With Rahul Haldhar, Bureau Report, India Today.
That's what you call a real Kaun Banega Karodpati moment that brings a smile to the face. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. I certainly did. Good night. Goodbye. Jai Hind. Namaskar.